Congrats on 10 years.
Thank you very much.
I was quite sad because I thought from 10 years something insane was going to happen and the insanity would be more negative in certain people leaving. But before we get to that, were there any major resolutions you guys decided on just before you got to 10 years, just after 10 years to be like, guys, we're a decade in, we're maybe going to start shifting some of these things?
Yeah, look, I think the resolutions came at the Third National People's Assembly. The 10 years was more of a celebration. I mean, no one expected us to make it. So we had to make an emphatic statement. Hence, we had to go to the FNB Stadium. Hence, we had to have that type of extravagant celebration because it was sort of a rabbit in your face type of, you said we wouldn't make it past 2 years type of thing. And we're here. And these are the achievements we've achieved as we reach this decade. And then, of course, the year after that, which was last year, we had the Third National People's Assembly, which is where we make resolutions about the organization, its future, programs of action and things of that nature. And key to those, for example, internally, we're going to dissolve regions. So the regions of South Africa is how we've organized our leadership structures at a regional level. So Johannesburg has its leadership, Ekurhuleni has its leadership, Nelson Mandela Bay, and so forth, eThekwini. But what we've come to realize is that a lot of the blueprint of how we've organizationally structured the EFF is based on how the ANC structured itself. So they were not fit for purpose. You'd have leadership that is elected on the basis of their ability to organize a faction rather than from where they're from within that region. And as a result, you'd have minimally individuals who are active and competent leading a regional structure. So we're now going to take it down to a sub-regional leadership structure level. So instead of a leadership of Johannesburg, there'll be a leadership of Soweto. There'll be a leadership of Alexandra and so forth, because those constitute sub-regions so that our organization is more grounded. Another resolution which I think has been more ground-shaking is the dissolution of the Student Command, which I was part and parcel of.
The solution?
Yeah, the Student Command is effectively dissolved.
As of when?
As of that conference. I mean, now we're going into a meeting this weekend from the 31st of January to set up the guidelines to establish the EFF Youth Command. So the purpose of that is that the EFF Student Command is largely focused on student constituency, but not the broader youth. So in order to broaden our sphere of influence in the youth sector, which is the majority of the support base of the EFF, we're establishing a youth command. And that means that we must dissolve the EFF Student Command. And as you'd imagine, very close to my heart, but it's a necessary organizational redesign process. And then, of course, there's resolutions around different spheres of South Africa society, the economy, on land, on media and broadcasting, and all sorts of things of that nature. So those are going to be communicated more effectively because we're finalizing them this weekend. But there's many resolutions that we've taken.
The youth command that you guys are going to be pushing will have branches within tertiary institutions, or will they be outside of
wards? So a tertiary institution belongs to a ward.
Okay.
So UCT belongs to Ward 57, for example.
Okay.
So there's going to be ward-based structures. So, and the leadership composition is part of the guidelines, which are going to be fine-tuned in the meeting I'm going to, will ensure that there must be representation of township youth, rural youth, youth in TVET sector, youth in the university sector, youth in high schools, so that it's all encompassing and all representative. Because the trick about the Student Command is that it gives you a sense that you've got the youth vote. But really, there's no more than 1.2, 1.3 million students in South Africa.
It's an exclusive space.
It's a very exclusive space, and it's an organized sort of populace. It's easy to think that you've got all of the youth because all you have to do is knock on a couple of doors and residences and then everyone is here. But the real youth of South Africa is spread out. They're on sports fields, they're in taverns, they're doing drugs, they're doing crime. Some are working, they're in the informal or formal sector, they're entrepreneurs. And we're unable to tap into that sector because we've got this illusion that we've got the youth behind us, but we've really got this exclusionary sector of the youth, which is in campuses. So we want to broaden our reach, and hence that decision. And as difficult as it may have been, it's quite necessary.
Do you think the EFF Youth Command will be able to influence universities from outside, as it were, versus a student command that runs for SRC and the like?
Look, there'll be structures in the campuses as well for the purposes of contesting SRC elections because we can't leave that space.
Okay.
So there will be a structure within the campus of the EFF Youth Command as part of its branches, which will work alongside the ward-based structures as well.
Okay.
So we're going to contest that space. And I think the students have a very close affinity to the ideas of the EFF. And I don't think there'll be a fundamental change. I raised that concern during the discussions with some of my comrades as well that this is an established brand. Like there's something that you must, whatever we're doing, whatever we're saying, the Student Command is a brand that has established itself. One campus is year on year and year out. So we have to go back and explain the change and shift in branding, because branding is important in what we're doing as well. So we're going to have to go back and do that. But I don't think it's going to be such a drastic and difficult change.
Okay.